Almost did it, guys. Can we get a round of applause for AAKoolJ taking Grand Inquisitor to 9th place at the latest launch event tournament here with Star Wars Unlimited. 222 players, only 4 people running Grand Inquisitor, 9th place, which is right outside the top 8. You know, all the top 8 were Boba Fett, and one man stood alone, and it was AAKoolJ. Today, we're going to be taking a look at his deck list and seeing how it works, what makes it tick, all the goods and all the bads of it. This is James with Make an Opening. Let's dive right in. So as I said before, guys, 9th place finish is not too bad considering 1st through 8th were all Boba Fett. This is a look at his placements. All 8 games, there's 8 games of Swiss. These are all his games. So he won against a Vigilance Luke deck, Cunning Boba, Command Vader, Command Sabine, Command Boba. It's a lot of command. And then his first 2 losses came in. Let me move my camera real quick. So as you can see, he lost to 2 command Bobas in a row. Fun fact, this is actually 1st place and then 5th place are the only 2 people that beat him. Mr. Cool and then 5th place. So they took a game off of our guy AAKoolJ, and then the final game of the event, he beat an Aggression Leia deck. So right over here to my right, I got some notes that I think are pretty good notes to consider when looking at the deck list. You can find the deck list down below. Nobody had made it on SWUDB yet, so I took it upon myself to make the deck list. You can copy it, you can use it on Force Table. You can copy it to use it in the tabletop simulator, or you can even, you know, buy the deck list yourself. I don't know the exact price. I'll probably figure that out before the end of this video so you can know the price of it if you're looking to get it in paper as well to play in some, you know, cam tournaments. There's actually going to be one going on here pretty soon. Registration ends in like 5 or 6 days looking at today's date. I'll leave a link to their Discord server down below as well. But let's take a look at some of these notes that I have for this deck. All right, so some key takeaways for this deck. So it's basically an aggro deck with better tempo than your standard Leia and Sabine decks. As you can see, it beat a Leia and a Sabine deck in this event. I like to consider it like a mix of aggro and tempo, like a tempo aggro deck. Obviously, those 2 keywords are right up there in that little message. But basically what that means is his ability really activates a whole lot of avenues for him to do 2-for-1 trades, make units bigger without really having too much of a downside in terms of grit units. And you can make a lot of value out of thin air with Grand Inquisitor, which is what makes Grand Inquisitor work a lot better than Leia and Sabine, in my opinion. Obviously here he did get the win against Red Green Leia and Red Green Sabine, which are, you know, pretty common meta, you know, aggro decks at this current date and time. But there are instances where the deck can lose as well. Obviously, if you have a bad hand, or if you're just not, you know, top decking the right stuff, if you run out of gas by doing too much action stacking and you just, you know, run out of gas. Sabine and Leia do have a chance there, but it is pretty slim, and I like my odds anytime I see a Leia or Sabine on the other side of the table whenever I'm playing Grand Inquisitor, especially with this deck list. I'm actually currently playing Grand Inquisitor myself. Grand Inquisitor and Han are my 2 most played leaders at this point in time. They're my favorite. Grand Inquisitor edging out Han Solo just a little bit, but pause, hold up. But yeah, Grand Inquisitor is just so much fun. His deck list is obviously different than mine. My deck list has a lot less synergy with force units, which we'll get into this guy's list. He did that a lot better than I did, and I might end up taking some notes from this deck list and putting it into my own game. But yeah, Grand Inquisitor for the win, 9th place, not too shabby. And as you can see, he went 2-2 against the current deck to beat in Boba Fett. He only lost to 1st place and 5th place. He lost to 2 command Bobas. He beat a command Boba, and he also beat a cunning Boba, which is, you know, yellow, black Boba. So not too bad there. You know, they're all running ECO except for cunning. So pretty good in terms of being a 50% win rate against the current deck to beat. I'm going to touch more on this in just a second as well. So I also think this deck is actually a really good matchup into ramp and control decks, just, you know, being that aggro style of deck. Typically, you know, Leia and Sabine are going to be decks like Palpatine and Krennic because they're more so control. And as everyone knows with TCGs, you know, aggro beats control, but control beats mid-range, but mid-range beats aggro. You know, it's like the little rock, paper, scissors of it. So I do think that is currently in a better situation, in a better spot. against decks like Emperor Palpatine control, Krennic control, your standard control decks that you're seeing, Iden even. And it's also a pretty good matchup into ramp. It's only played one. It played Command Vader. It won. It didn't really play any control matchups, but in my personal testing with the deck, both my deck list and this guy's deck list as well, very good in the control matchups. And then the ramp style decks like Ramp Vader, Ramp Han Solo, Ramp Grand Moff Tarkin. This deck does pretty well. I feel like ramp has a slightly better chance than control does, but that's just in my own personal testing. I haven't done a whole lot. Like, I haven't done hundreds of games. I've done dozens of games, but that's my current takeaway with this deck list. And as you can see right down here, I have listed that it could be a sleeper in the next large event. In my opinion, most people are going to end up building around to beat Boba. You know, a lot of big events as soon as the game came out, the top cuts were a lot of Sabine and a lot of Leia, because aggro is usually the meta whenever a game first comes out. With this next event, this next largest event, 222 people, all top 8 were Boba. I believe it was 42 or 43 decks out of the 222 were Boba, because everyone wanted to make sure they had that Sabine Leia matchup under control. And also it does play pretty well into some ramp and control decks as well, with it being a mid-range deck and a really good one at that. So I feel like in the next event, there's going to be a lot of Boba still, of course, because everyone sees that, you know, 1st through 8th they're all Boba. That's a good sign. Let's play Boba. You either beat them or you join them. So you're either going to join them or you're going to beat them by playing control decks like Krennic, Palpatine, Iden, decks along those lines. And if the next event has a big portion of control decks and Boba Fett decks, I feel like Grand Inquisitor, as well as, you know, decks like Leia and Sabine, are going to have an uptick in that next event, with this deck being very well placed into control decks. Mirror matching aggro decks is usually really well, and then a 50% into Boba. I feel like Grand Inquisitor is a pretty nasty sleeper going into the next event. So now let's start diving into the deck list. If you want to view the full deck list, I'll have a link down below, but I'm just going to be looking at bits and pieces of it and seeing what makes the deck tick, what makes the deck work really well. And the first thing we're looking at is the tempo package. These are cards that you're going to be using Grand Inquisitor's ability on a lot. As you can see, you exhaust them to deal 2 damage to a friendly unit with 3 or less power and ready it. All of these units are units in the deck that have 3 or less power and also have more than 2 toughness, just because you don't want to use Grand Inquisitor's ability and kill a unit. Obviously, with the base in play as well, Security Complex, it does allow you to make even better, more complex plays where you put a shield on a unit and then you pop Grand Inquisitor's ability to pop the shield but then ready the unit. And then vice versa, you could also damage the unit and then put a shield on it. A bunch of different ways to do it. So on the left side are cards that I think you should be using your ability on more. The right side are units you can still use the ability on, because obviously they're going to live. If you're looking for that extra bit of tempo to maybe 2-for-1 some opponent's units, maybe you just want to get in for extra damage on the base. Admiral, Ozzel, Cell Block Guard, Death Trooper, System Patrol Craft, and Inferno 4 are all good options. None of them really have any additional benefits whenever you do untap them, except for Admiral Ozzel. Cell Block Guard, System Patrol Craft, those are both Sentinels, so you know, you kind of just want them there as brick walls. You run 3 of Cell Block and 2 of System Patrol Craft. Inferno 4 is a 3 of, and it's only really when played when defeated, so you could ready it just for some tempo to go into another unit, maybe trade in space and then get his ability where you can look at the top 2 and either put him on the bottom or the top. Death Trooper, really it's just, you can use it on him if you want. That's probably the one I least recommend out of these 5. And then Admiral Ozzel is a pretty interesting one, just because we run 2 of them, and then his action is to exhaust to play an Imperial unit from your hand that's automatically readied. Each opponent can then ready a unit afterwards, so you may want to be a little bit more careful on that, but you could theoretically play out an Admiral Ozzel, and then, you know, he'll come out exhausted, use Grand Inquisitor's ability to ready him, and then exhaust him again to play another unit out of your hand that's ready. You could do it on the same turn. You could do it, you know, you could swing in with Admiral Ozzel. You know, turn 1 you play him, turn 2 you swing with them, activate Grand Inquisitor's ability, and then exhaust Admiral Ozzel to play a unit out of your hand and then swing with that unit. There's a bunch of cool things you can do with them, a bunch of really cool play lines. He's the one I recommend the most out of that bunch of units over there, but this bunch of units is what I recommend a whole lot more. So with these units, as you can see, we run a 3 of them, basically all of them. Let me move real quick. You can see we have a 3 of a 5th brother, of course. We run a 3 of basically all these guys except for Rugged Survivors. The top row, we have Scout Bike Pursuer, Baze, Malbus, Rugged Survivors. All these guys do have grit. Baze, Malbus as well if you have initiative. He also has Sentinel as well, which is really cool. And then with Rugged Survivors on attack, if you have your leader unit out, you can draw a card. So a good way to dig through the deck to help you find some additional answers, maybe some removal spells like your force cards, which we'll go over next. But with grit, not only are you readying them, but you're making them stronger as well. You're giving them +2, -2, basically. So Scout Bike Pursuer becomes a 3/2, Baze becomes a 4/3, and then Rugged Survivors becomes a 5/3. So pretty good use of Grand Inquisitor's ability on those guys. And then obviously with 5th brother and 7th sister, let me just move my little face real quick yet again. 5th brother, he has raid 1 for each damage on him. So he's currently a 2/4. You play him, he's exhausted, use Grand Inquisitor, deal 2 damage, he's 4/2. And then when you attack, you may deal 1 damage to this unit and 1 damage to another ground unit. Either friendly or enemy, so you could ping your Scout Bike, your Rugged, your Baze if you wanted to. It's just another ground unit, not an enemy ground unit. So theoretically, he could be a 5/1 the turn you play him. And since you could play him on turn 2, that's pretty good damage. Not only that, you pair him with Security Complex Shield, maybe even ready him up with additional card effects as well. 5th brother can deal a bunch of damage in a single turn. It's actually kind of crazy what he can do. And then we also have 7th sister, another 3 of course, has Saboteur. So any shields, any sentinels that are giving you some heartache, don't have to worry about that anymore. And when it deals combat damage to an opponent's base, which is typically what you're going to be focusing on swinging at with 7th sister just to proc this ability. Obviously you can trade. She has a pretty big butt. She's a 3/6. If you use Grand Inquisitor's ability to ready her, she either has 4 or 5 health, depending on if he's in the leader zone or if he's deployed, but 6 health, you can do some pretty good trading. And then whenever you actually attack a base, which is what I recommend, I don't really recommend trading, but in a pinch if you need to. But if you hit the base, you can deal 3 damage to a ground unit that an opponent controls. So, you know, just additional removal on 7th sister. I think it's probably the best unit. Obviously, 5th brother and 7th sister are really good. But in my personal opinion, I really like using the ability on Scout Bike Pursuer. He can get super big out of nowhere. It's kind of crazy. And then 7th sister, of course. Those are probably my 2 favorite ones, but all of these units here are very good. All of these guys, all of them. They are very good to use the ability on. So now let's take a look at the Force package. So this is our Force Matters package. Obviously, Grand Inquisitor, when he's deployed, he's a Force unit. You have 3 of 5th brother and 3 of 7th sister, both Force Imperial Inquisitor units, just like the Grand Inquisitor. And we also have 2 Guardian of the Whills as well. It is a Force Fringe unit, and its ability actually raises the first upgrade you play on this unit each turn costs 1 less. That is a pretty good ability, especially paired with the Fallen Lightsaber as well. Right over there, I don't really know where to point. Fallen Lightsaber, you attach to a non-vehicle unit, it gets +3/+3, and then if the attached unit is a Force unit, which all 4 of these guys are Force units, you have a total of 9 Force units. You deal 1 damage to each ground unit the defending player controls. So it's a little added bonus if you put it on a Force unit. You can put it on a whole bunch of other units as well. If you put it on a speeder bike, not only is it a 3/2 when you use Grand Inquisitor's ability, but with the +3/+3, you're looking at a 6/5, and you throw a shield on it with Security Complex. That is just crazy. Turn 1 Scout Bike, turn 2 Fallen Lightsaber, doing 6 damage with a shield. That I've done that before, and it'll make an opponent kind of mad. That's such a big threat to deal with so early in the game. And that's just something Grand Inquisitor does really well. Like I mentioned before, aggro tempo, he makes a lot of value out of thin air. It's very fun and very satisfying. But let's look at some of the other Force Matters events. We have Force Throw, so you choose a player. This is very important. You can either choose the opponent to discard a card, and then if you control one of your 9 Force units, you can actually deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of that chosen card, the discarded card. You can choose a player, so that means the enemy or even yourself. So in a pinch, if you need to do a specific amount of damage, you don't know if they're going to discard a card that's going to deal that right amount of damage. You can discard your own card to, you know, basically throw it at your opponent's unit that you're trying to deal damage to. Unfortunately, it's not at the base. That would have been kind of broken. It would have been kind of funny, but that's okay. With Force Choke, if you have one of your 9 Force units in play, it only costs 1 instead of 2. You deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit. Your opponent does get to draw a card, but it's very solid removal for only 1, which is very nice. Force Lightning, you choose a unit, it loses all of its abilities for this phase. That by itself is super good. You can get past Sentinel to get crucial base damage in to win the game. You don't even have to have a Force unit out for that part of the ability to work. And Force unit or not, it is 1 cost to do that. So very strong. But if you do control a Force unit, you pay any number of resources and deal 2 damage to the chosen unit for each resource paid this way. So, you know, it's 1 to remove abilities. But if you want to deal an additional 8 damage, it's 5 resources for 8 damage. That right there kills basically any leader because it says choose a unit. It does not say choose a non-leader unit. So 5 resources to kill basically any leader. Pretty solid. And then it binds all things, heal up to 3 damage from a unit. That right there, 2 resources to heal 3 is pretty good, especially if you're trying to keep some of your key pieces alive. Sure, they might lose raid for Fifth Brother's instance, or maybe they lose some of their grit damage for, you know, some of the grit units we have. But if you control a Force unit, you can deal 3 damage to another unit, up to 3 damage, of course. So if you only healed 2, you deal 2 damage. If you only healed 1, you're doing 1 damage. But that is a lot of healing and a lot of damage. That's basically, you know, a 6-point swing and 2 resources worth of a card. It's very, very powerful. I'm a big fan. And then that's, you know, that's the Force package right there. Before we wrap up the video, let's see what the price of the deck would be on TCG Player, just for shits and giggles, and then we'll head out. So as of right now, I put all the deck into TCG Player, just the main deck, not the sideboard. The sideboards are going to be included in the deck list down below. You can get it if you want, if you're like more serious about the game and you do want to play it competitively and make changes depending on the matchup. If you play it more casually, obviously people usually don't do sideboards. Without sideboard, with the optimization, as of right now, of course, it's 436 on March 31st. So it could easily change. 6 packages, 50 items. You're looking at about $70 deck list, which is not bad at all. Some of the bigger cards in the deck are obviously Force Lightning, sitting at $11.50 a pop. It binds all things. It's $2.40 a pop. It's actually a near mint foil. Don't really know why it went with a foil one, but it did. We got $12.95 for another Force Lightning. Fallen Lightsaber looks like it's 3 a pop at the moment. Seven Sister 4 a pop at the moment. And then Seven Sister $5. Fallen Lightsaber $3. So yeah. Some cards that are multiple dollars, but other cards that are just, you know, cents at a time. You know, Wolffe isn't even $1. Wolffe's a good card. I know we didn't really go into him. He's not part of any like specific packages I went over, but he is in the deck. If you've looked at the deck list, you know that already. But yeah, $70 deck list. If you want, go ahead and buy it. I'm going to get the deck list in a text form for you down below as well. That way, if you did want to buy it, you could just copy and paste it into the mass entry, because SWUDB does not make that very easy. So I'm gonna do that for you guys. If you liked, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you thought about this deck tech. This is my first deck tech video I've ever done. I've made YouTube videos before on different channels, but never covered a TCG, and I've never done a deck tech video. I'm only doing it because I really love the game. I'm having a whole lot of fun, and I wanted to show off this Grand Inquisitor deck because it got 9th and it's my favorite leader. Maybe I start doing my own deck list that I've brewed up and made myself. I'm not the best at it. And also I'll be participating in a tournament, which you can sign up for in the Discord link down below as well. We're currently at 36 entries. I don't really think there's like a cash prize or anything, but it is a webcam tournament. It's going to be my first one I've ever done. So I'm really excited. And if you guys want to join in, just let me know and I can help you guys out with that as well. If this deck tech was fun to watch, if it was informative, if there's anything you liked or didn't like, if you want to see me do it next time or stuff you don't want to see me do next time, just let me know. Let me have it down below. I want to improve because I've never done this before. But yeah, until next time, this has been James with Make an Opening, and I will see you guys later. Peace.